Yeah, we're going to be talking about some really cool Wyandotte stuff, but let's just get this Detroit stuff out of the way real quick.
Well, the larger art scene stuff.
Yeah, well,
Not just Detroit.
Sure.
There's a couple of things
sure.
that have happened here in
right,
Michigan.
Right. So for those of you, if you've listened to our audio show, and I think we've talked about this before, maybe on here, about our good friend Antoine Bryant.
Yes.
With the who is what is he again? He's the director of planning and development for City of Detroit. So he's the one that all those really cool murals that happened right before the Super Bowl.
The draft, right before the draft.
Don't do the draft. That was so. I can't believe
the Super Bowl was here years ago, dude.
Anyways, okay. Well, wait, what's the difference? I mean, when
was the last time you watched a football game?
A bunch of dudes excited, a bunch of young dudes doing well at ball stuff. Whatever. Okay. All right. So So let's. So Antoine Bryant. So they did some murals. And these guys of New York finished the murals.
Well, what they did was that they had a company from New York bring in artists from around the world to do murals in Detroit, which were initially going to be done on historic buildings, which luckily that changed. And that wasn't done.
Right.
But yeah, so these murals were done, and evidently they didn't go through the proper channels and get the proper permission from City Council to do these murals. And so City Council voted not to pay the $215,000 fee for the job.
Which for 8 artists, as large as the murals were, is not a big fee. But however, and that was also part of the whole thing in the history too, was the fact that Detroit artists should have done it, but
they weren't even notified.
And also the artists were generally underpaid, and now they're setting a standard for underpaying muralists and stuff like that. So, great job, Detroit. How'd that draft treat you?
Well, as it turns out, the gentleman who was in charge of the Detroit's planning director, his name was
Antoine
Bryant. He is now under investigation. Emails have been subpoenaed. The right word?
There's a Freedom of Information Act.
Well, the Freedom of Information Act was used by the Detroit Free Press in order to gain access to some of this stuff.
So the fact he probably used to City of Detroit email or whatever.
Yeah. So this. I mean, if you, the Detroit Free Press had published an article. We're not going to read the whole thing because it's a very long article. They published an article on June 11th, 2024. Title of the article is "Detroit Planning Director Under Investigation Amid Mural Controversy." If you go on Detroit Free Press, you could search for it and read the whole article. It is rather lengthy, but they do. If I can get to it. They do print some of the Detroit Free Press had initially requested emails and such through the Freedom of Information Act, and the City of Detroit told them it was going to cost something in the neighborhood of $17,000 for them to acquire this information, which the Free Press had balked at, but then narrowed their search and received some information. And I'm trying to look for...
Okay, so while you're looking for him, so Brian said, so in the meeting he apologized. He's like, I take full responsibility for the missed processes and procedures. I apologize for all mistakes made and sincerely hope your honorable body will approve this request for payment for the services that have already been performed in good faith. It's fun. That's fun stuff. There's so many different ways to apologize, It's like, or be like, hey, listen, I still get a job, right? No, it's just fun. I can't wait to see what happens here. Are you trying to find the email still?
Yeah, well, here, after being told that they couldn't use historic buildings, Brian, and they weren't getting, they hadn't gotten signed contracts or anything. Bryant had replied to an email. He had said, all we could we could begin on the buildings, get the work mostly completed while still filing for the November meeting. Worst that would happen is that we would get cited, which I can address internally, he said. That's his quote.
Wow.
So, this guy was willing to go ahead and do the work without having the proper authorization and willing to accept a slap on the wrist,
So
essentially.
This guy's got he put his big boy pants on. It was like he's like, yeah, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, he basically said, we do the paintings. What are they going to do? They can't take them down.
This is not 1989 Detroit.
Yeah,
like now they actually have their stuff together a little bit, so that's fun.
This is going to be interesting to see how this develops.
Yeah,
and
stay tuned.
How this shakes out. If you're at all interested in public art in the area, I mean, it's nice that some of it's going up. I mean, Joel, if you could put up Detroit Mural 1, I mean,
Yes.
it's not a bad mural.
That's
but
all right.
This is Detroit. This isn't New York. We don't need a mural of the Statue of Liberty here. I mean,
Since when has Detroit cared about liberty, Tony? You're right.
I mean, maybe I get what they're trying to do, but I mean, Statue of Liberty is a New York icon. It really doesn't say anything about the city of Detroit.
My question would be, how many times has this artist done the Statue of Liberty mural piece throughout the world?
And if you could throw up the number 2 Detroit mural, this mural in particular, I really don't care for. I don't think it's that well executed. I think there's a lot of wasted space. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Right. That's what are you gonna 215,000. So there was total 8, right? Was that right?
I think there was 8 murals done
total of 8.
for $215,000, which is a bargain.
That's
really
pretty big. It's a lot of paint. It's all that stuff. Yeah. When I heard this story hit, man, I knew there's something amok. For sure.
There's something amiss there.
That's all right.